Winning buyer, winning seller within the family. I think you should get a good discount. Well, that's a pretty good discount because, well, you paid £300. I think you'd have to pay £3,000 today.
Goodness.
Dutch, or to be more precise, it's Frisian.
That's what I was going to say. How do you know that? I'm supposed to tell you that.
Because my mother, to whom it belonged,
Right.
comes from an old Frisian family in Holland,
Right.
and this was passed down to me after she died.
We're talking here about the 17th century.
Yeah.
And this is a time when Holland was obviously a wealthy country. The tulips, of course, the famous tulips until the early 17th century were very expensive items.
Yeah.
The tulip bulbs made the Amsterdam traders very rich. Holland was a great seafaring nation at the time. And, of course, the farming was always very rich, but very, very provincial. I think it's difficult to imagine quite how provincial that would be.
The family were seafarers and merchants, in fact.
Right.
For many generations, yeah.
And it probably would have taken quite a lot of money to buy a piece like this in the 17th century.
There's an awful lot of work gone into it. I mean,
Well, there has. I mean, I
clear.
love this, the various mouldings here. I mean, you've got this one here, which was almost like a thumbnail, an overnail, like scale pattern, really, here. And then you've got a variation of it, like a sort of ripple moulding here. But all done by hand. This is not a machine. This is one man laboriously carving each little piece out like that, which I love. And I'm rather stuck here. I mean, this is sweet. The hearts. That's very nice indeed. So it may have been perhaps a marriage coffer.
Well, I was told that it was a marriage coffer, and that they had them at the foot of the bed for putting the linen in or something.
So in that case, we assume these are billing doves.
You know, I've never noticed the birds there. No, they are birds, aren't they?
Two amorous birds, two love birds, let's say, for the marriage chest.
And the date, would that be the date of it was made, or the date of the wedding, maybe, or something? Is that 1701 on there?
I think it's 1701. There's something about the cutting. I don't think it's the same hand. If you
Right,
look really
right.
closely,
It's very crude.
Very crude and very, very deep compared with the subtlety of the rest of the carving. So it probably is later. You know, with these provincial pieces in any country, it's very difficult to date within 50 years. So, I could say 1650. It could be 1700. What's anything inside that's interesting?
I don't think particularly interesting, no.
It's fairly original. That's nice.
Is that a candle box at the end, or?
Candle box, yes, traditionally. And a lovely lock. Oh, it's a snap lock. Oh, that's a wonderful period. So that lock is 300 years old or so,
And
still
it
working.
should snap shut when you close that.
Let's
without
just try.
that.
Let's just try. I think so. Yes. So
Yeah.
yes. So heaven help you if you've taken the key out and you can't open it. It snaps locked and that's it. But what a nice piece of furniture. Now I suspect that you probably know more about the value of this than I do because
No, I don't.
you haven't had it valued recently or anything.
No, not at all.
I think at auction in London, a pre-sale estimate of about £2,000 to £2,500.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And I think that would probably be bought by a Dutch person or a Dutch dealer
Right.
over to the Netherlands. I could see it in an Amsterdam shop for probably 5,000, something like that.
Oh, right. Well, it is nice to know.
It's a very early piece.
Yes, lovely.
And part of your history. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you very much. Yes.
So do you know what this type of furniture is called?
I know it's Boulle furniture, but we don't know how to spell it, or what variation of spelling
Because
it
you
is.
get different spellings, yes.
That's right. Yeah.
It's actually Boulle,
Right.
after André Charles Boulle, who was a designer and furniture maker working in the court of Louis XIV in the late 17th century. How long has this been in the family? I'm trying to date it.
My husband's family were mill owners, and they built the big house in 1828, and this, I think, is the original furniture. It's been in there since 1828. I think.
I think it just misses that date.
Yeah.
I think, though, that this is a French one, and it must be a bit later, 1845 or something like that. I can't quite see it as being as early as the 1820s. Where's it been? It looks like it hasn't been used for a long time.
They've all been in a room upstairs under wraps. They haven't seen the light of day for 40-odd years.
Well, it's a wonderful Dickensian image, isn't it? All covered up and all getting very dusty. Because clearly it would all clean up a bit. You've got pieces missing. And if you look at this, you can see where the brass is missing. You can see this material here, which is called tortoise shell.
Right.
So under here, and if you cleaned it with olive oil, which I don't recommend you do yourself, but you'd see it would be a sort of deepish browny colour, almost with a red coming through.
Yep.
And in fact, it's nearly always turtle shell. People popularly think that this black furniture was mourning furniture, but no, it wasn't. It was a very popular style, competing with the Chinese black export furniture of the 1830s and 40s. Became very, very popular indeed. And this good quality metalwork, not the best, but good quality, nicely sculpted, with a very good face in the front here on either side. You've got a drawer on one side, blank on the other side. Stands well, looks good, and this is better than most. So a piece like this, what do you think it would bring?
Couple of hundred. A couple of hundred? Three,
A
four?
couple of thousand.
Kidder.
A couple of £1,000, certainly. Just this single piece on its own.
Right.
Cleaned up in an antique shop with the restoration done, £5,500. But also this is yours, I understand, as well.
Yes. Yep.
Now this looks like it's had a rough life. Has this been stuck in the same Dickensian room?
No, it was in the cellar for 50 years, I think. I've never seen it. It's the first time it's been outside. And I think I'm the only one in the family that likes it. I love it.
I think it's great. Because what is interesting for me, it's the same period as the Boulle table.
All right.
It's the Boulle revival. This is the Romantic revival of the 1840s. The
Fabulous.
sculptor here is Theodore Gechter, who was a very, very good sculptor. He's cleaning up his signature a bit. And this is a French romantic. He's one of the Crusaders, Charles Martel. And this is the King of the Saracens, about to have his life terminated by that axe in his back. And here you have a couple of camp followers in their mighty armour, holding up these wonderful Roman-like standards with all their trophies. Because I think you've got a garniture here worth, cleaned up, retail, £8,000.
8,000.
8,000.
I think I had it in the sale.
This cresting here is completely wrong. I think it's been made specifically to go on this chair to replace an earlier cresting for whatever reason. The other one might have been broken, damaged or lost or something like that, or simply offended whoever it was. Yes. Or also there's a third dimension for that. A lot of this period oak furniture was carved up in the 19th century. And this type of carving, I would guess, is sort of certainly the second half of the 19th century, possibly even 1880 to 1900. Right. Because there were clubs of people would go to evening class to learn about carving. And this is certainly amateur, and I suspect that's what's happened here. So whether somebody replaced it because they preferred that. And the problem is the iconography is lost a little bit, because with this cresting is later and means not a lot to me. It's some sort of rather mad-looking man, isn't it, here? Yes. But was it bought in this part of the country? I mean, what, in Yorkshire or
Sheffield?
In Sheffield,
right.
Yes. Because there's something about this back, certainly the square panel back, and more importantly, the marquetry here is more typical of Yorkshire, or more specifically Leeds. When you think that this chair is basically middle of the 17th century, 1640, 60, that sort of date. Right. So Leeds was one of the biggest towns in the country outside London. Wealth, money, and the opportunity to build really an important joiner's chair in oak like this. Yes. And they favoured marquetry like this. You can see how thick it is, where this piece is missing. Yes. Great big thick chunks inlaid in there, including, I think, probably mother of pearl there by the look of it.
Yes.
And it's of tulips, and of course tulips at this time were very valuable indeed. The whole estates were wagered and lost on the price of a tulip bulb. And when the tulip crash came, many, many people were ruined, because one tulip bulb was worth thousands of pounds.
Tulip mania.
Exactly. So that's all part of the decoration and aesthetics of this period. But when you look here, it's interesting, because with the cresting later, when you look at these denter or teeth mouldings, as they're called, these are clearly, this shiny colour here is not 17th century. And when you look all the way around, I suspect they've all been replaced.
Well, it did have some restoration work done on it about 10 years ago, because this was a family piece that was knocked around by children and dragged here and there for parties, and lots of these fell out.
What do children do in a party on this?
Oh,
Dance
they sit on it, you know, the birthday person
at the
head
king's
of the
chair.
table.
Yes, oh, lovely, lovely. But there are lots of wear on the arm. It's nice, genuine wear, perfectly genuine 17th century arm. And again, very nice decoration down here. The front and the sides have got this nice lunette, as it's called, incised carving, which is all perfectly period and genuine. Often has been copied in the 19th century when people were carving up with plainer oak pieces, but this is all perfectly genuine, in my opinion. The problem is his values. I mean, it really is a problem. Dramatically altered, I'm afraid, by the back. If that cresting was right, I can see that in a shop for sort of £4,000, possibly even more, something like that. But unfortunately, because of the cresting, it's made a huge difference to the value.
Yes, yeah.
And it might be more realistic to put only £1,000 on it. Right. Just because of that, unfortunately, major alteration.
Yes. I bought it in Dorset, so is it a Dorset piece? I don't know. I don't know that much about it.
Right. But looking at the whole shape of it, it's a Welsh dresser, basically. But what's interesting, this idea of the three drawers with the arch in the middle is more typically from the Brecon area.
Oh, right.
And what confirms it to me is the fact, have you noticed that this shelf is much wider than this one or the one below it?
Yes.
Do you know why that is?
Because bigger plates would have gone here, meat dish or something, I don't know.
Right, but recent studies have determined that it's more subtle than that, and this is fascinating. In Brecon, traditionally meat plates, the big decorative meat plates, wouldn't be rectangularly placed like that in a landscape form. They'd be placed in a vertical portrait form. So you needed a higher shelf.
That's just aesthetic, is it? It's
Purely aesthetic, but it's a regional characteristic of just Brecon. So that alone is enough to say it's Brecon for me.
all right.
I'm just going down to the base now because there are one or two things just very quickly to point out. It's unusual to have this chamfered leg. It would normally be a ring-turned leg in Brecon. He's either very fashionable, this man, or he didn't know how to turn.
I see.
You're missing the front and back stretchers, which you probably realise. But what would be really nice to replace is the wood would have been boards, 2 to 3 boards running left to right.
Yes.
And that would obviously set it off a bit.
Yes.
And I think that's probably worth having redone.
Really?
Because it's an unusual dress. It's a nice size, it's the original height, it's not very big, cottage furniture. I could go on for a long time on this.
I brought it in to find out whether it's worth having restored because I wasn't sure whether the plate rack was original to the base because of it being a different material.
Totally original, totally original. So how long ago did you buy it?
A year ago, almost to the day.
Right. What did you pay for it a year ago? This is always the difficult bit.
£4,000.
4,000. Well, I was going to say that it would make £2,500 to £3,500 at auction. I think it's a fair market price, and I think if it can be well restored, I mean, I think I'd have put £4,000 to £4,500 for insurance. So I think you're already beginning to recoup the payment you've made, and I think if you have it nicely restored by a good restorer, it's going to go up really quite quickly. It's a good buy, and I'm really, really excited to see it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm pleased that you're pleased to see it.
The wine cooler is clearly mahogany from the Regency period. But what is interesting about the books you brought along with it is that the books stopped before the Regency period. The age of satinwood was around up until about 1800, and the Regency wine cooler is from 1810, 1820. So when this was written, here we are, 1904, nobody considered the Regency period at all. So here's a major book, one of the first ever really serious dictionaries of English furniture, written by this well-known Percy McCoy in 1904. I think the last volume was 1908. Not talking about Regency furniture at all. 1800, that was the cut-off date. McCoy, who wrote these volumes, he was a decorator and advisor to wealthy people. He left part of his collection to this museum in Brighton. And of course, here you have an oak chair, probably Flemish, circa 1500. But we now know, because it's in the museum, that in fact it's a fake, made in probably the back streets of London about 1850, 1880, that sort of date. So the first item, one of the first pieces you come to is a fake. And this is one of the problems with this book, and also fascinating, that a lot of the pieces were actually fake. Just moving on, this one, we've got the age of mahogany, and it's strange when you think this is mahogany period he's writing about in this volume, and here we have a piece of walnut, a walnut cabinet. But there's no question of it. This cabinet like this, these wonderful oyster veneers, which is typical of the William and Mary period, wouldn't have cabriole legs like that. Probably have an extra drawer and on a low bun feet or a low stand.
Yes.
So here's a major colour plate in the book, and it's clearly not right.
So the people who are named in the book wouldn't actually have known this, would they?
No, not at all. Here we have 2 pieces by William Kent from Houghton Hall in Norfolk. And when he was using these pieces, they were perfectly right. They weren't fakes at all. No. The books are really rather a descending investment, whereas the Regency piece is ascending, so at least it compensates a bit. And these were reprinted in the last decade, and of course the value has gone down a bit. A set like this, probably between £400 and £500 in a shop. The Regency piece of furniture here, which looks like it's been in the family for a long time,
Yes, it has.
that's going up in value. I think that you could certainly expect an auction value of £2,000 to £3,000, and I think therefore if you wanted to insure it in a shop just cleaned up a little bit, probably even slightly more than £4,000 today.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Now we know.
Yes, now we know.
Do you know what date this is?
No, I don't know. I know how long ago I bought it. I bought it 35 years ago.
It, to me, is a very classic part of English furniture history, 1820s.
Is it?
Late Georgian.
I didn't know that.
Regency. So typical of that Regency period. I mean, the end of the Georgian period, beginning of the Victorian period. So when things were starting to get a bit fussy, but I'm not going to call this fussy at all because it's right at the time when things were very, very, very elegant indeed. I like the shape of it. I like the size of it is very nice and generous. But you've had it 30 years. I mean, what about this colour? I mean, we've got a bit of a contrasting colour. If I start here, it's very, very faded, where it looks like it's been in a bay window, and then...
Yes, it has been in a bay window.
And I go all the way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
To when I get to you, it's almost, the natural colour, isn't it?
Yes, John didn't like the curtains being drawn. So it stood in the sun.
It's a working table.
And it was the morning sun, which I think
Right.
is supposed to be worse.
Well, it hasn't helped. I mean, it's quite a nice colour. It's lovely timber. I have a feeling that it might be Scottish. Whoever made this knew what he was about. An Edinburgh maker, Glasgow maker, who could afford a very good quality. You know the timber?
I don't know the timber it's made of, no.
Well, it's...
Is it mahogany or not?
That's it?
Yeah.
You do know the timber.
Yeah.
Mahogany, beautiful mahogany, very, very nice indeed. I mean, what have you had? Have you had it valued? It's a great piece of furniture. I like it.
Yes, but I had it valued and I didn't believe the valuation on it at all. Because I put too much on it, what I thought it was worth.
That's an unusual way round. May I ask you what they put on it then? What did they put on it?
They put 35,000 on it.
Well, fairly recently, or yes, must have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
About a month ago,
Ooh.
2 months.
That is too much, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know.
That is too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great-looking table. What I think makes a huge difference to this table, unfortunately, it's a working table. Did you put this leather on?
It was put on before I bought it. We didn't put it on ourselves, no.
Because somebody has, I'm afraid, made a big mistake with this. This was never designed to have a leather top.
No, all right.
This is not a cross-banded edge. This is a solid mahogany all the way around.
Yes.
And what somebody's done, it was solid slab of mahogany or veneer of mahogany going right across the whole table, and somebody has cut it out quite nicely to let a leather top in flat.
Yes.
So it would have been originally all this lovely mahogany, figured mahogany. If it was made to have a leather top, well, it would have had what's called cross-banding, so the grain would be in different directions. It would be this way around here, the grain running like that, and then pointing down towards the back of the piece.
Yes.
So that's the giveaway with this.
Yes.
And that is going to make a huge difference to the value. That ought, I'm afraid, I've already taken quite a bit off your 35,000
Right,
as a result of that.
Well, I didn't believe it myself.
Well, I think you were right instinctively. But just before I value it, look at that base. I mean, isn't that fantastic, the edge of this? I mean, when it stands and you look at it, this great big corbelled base here, this trestle support with an anthemion or honeysuckle from Greek art. This is a Greek revival of the 1820s. And these lovely paw feet with these great shells holding the feet together. I think it's a great looking piece of furniture.
Yes.
I can see somebody like it, I can see you falling in love with it, and I can see you using it and enjoying it. But we have to revalue it, I'm afraid.
Right, right.
Minimum of 10, possibly 12,000 is more realistic.
Yes.
Because it's great.
Yes.
And you've obviously had fun over the last 30 years. What did you pay for it then?
When I bought it, I paid £600 for it.
Oh, if only we could all go back in time.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
I mean, this type of coffer or chest, the original shape is called an arc. And these originally were taken off. They had loose hinges, and people would knead dough in them.
Oh.
Which is extraordinary. That's why it's that shape. It's not for getting the extra blanket or the extra piece of linen in. It's actually for kneading dough.
Right.
It's so incredibly domestic. You wouldn't believe it, would you? What a great shape that is, though. Where does it come from?
It comes from Holland, and it was bought by my husband's aunt in Rotterdam in the late 60s.
Right. And actually bought in a Rotterdam shop.
Yes.
I wonder if it's a little bit more north than that. There's something about the way these legs stick out that reminds me of that sort of sledge type furniture that was often in Friesland in sort of northern Denmark. Again, what date is it?
I have no idea.
Not going to hazard a guess.
I have no idea. No.
It's, well, between about 1620, 1640.
Goodness.
And what I think is fascinating is when you look at this decoration, I mean, all this is fairly typical. English and Dutch, North European furniture has a lot of cross similarities at this time. I love these arches, but it's unusual to get them sticking out like this. There's little, where the top arch sits on the pilaster, on the column here. And the fact that this is 350, 400 years old, and some of these are still intact. But it's got a lovely charm about it. And it's got a colour which you don't often see on English oak. So it's a family piece. And it's been, what, since the 60s?
Yes, yes.
Is it a highly prized value piece?
It's very loved in our family, yes.
How much did you pay in guilders for it in the 60s, do you know?
I don't know in the 60s. We paid my husband's aunt 1,000 guilders for it. It's about £300. We paid her for it.
That seems quite a reasonable price for a good piece of 400-year-old furniture, doesn't it? How long
That's
ago
what
was
she
that?
asked. We paid for it about 5 years ago, 6
That's
years
pretty
ago.
good, isn't it?
That's what she asked for it, so...
I think, winning buyer, winning seller within the family, I think you should get a good discount. But that's a pretty good discount because, well, you paid £300. I think you'd have to pay £3,000 today.
Goodness. Okay. Right, to write them a cheque, I think.
Mother bought this in a jumble sale about 65, 67 years ago.
Oh, wow, right.
Yes.
A jumble sale, how wonderful.
Yes.
What a thing to find, because it's very heavy to cart around in a jumble sale.
I would make the car very
And it's
far.
made of black Belgian marble.
Belgian marble?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
And it's not Belgian or French.
No.
What nationality do you think it
We
is?
thought it was maybe Italian.
Very clever, but wrong. It's English.
Yes.
This is made probably on the Duke of Devonshire's estate.
The
at
Duke of
Devonshire,
Devonshire.
Chatsworth.
Oh, yes.
In Derbyshire.
Yes.
And there's a difference between this type of marquetry, which is pietre dure, hard stone inlay,
Yes.
the Italian marquetry, and the English marquetry.
Yes.
The English is much more complicated, much more difficult to do. This is a solid marble top.
Yes.
And what's happened is they've cut these little holes in to let this
Yes.
into the main surface. The Italians have a thin veneer of marble on top and cut out a little stencil,
yes.
if you like, which
Yes,
is an
yes.
easier, still very difficult, but easier
Will be-
technique
will be
than this
easier.
very typical English technique.
Yes.
Sort of Ashburton area of Derbyshire, a lovely, it's a great little marble table. I mean, it's such a pretty size and so fresh, because the date, we haven't talked, is about 1840 or 50.
1840?
Yeah.
Ah.
It's a lot older. It was already 100 years old or so when it was bought by your family, at least.
Yes.
Now, I've got to value this because I think it's a great piece of furniture. Insure it for £5,000.
5,000. Very nice. Very nice.
This desk has been around all my life. It was bought by my father shortly after the war when my parents were setting up home, and it quickly found its way into my bedroom as a child. About 10 years ago, one of my friends came round and asked if it was by somebody called Barnsley. He knew more about furniture than me, which set me thinking. And I bought a book and did my research, and it made me wonder if indeed it was by either Barnsley or by Jimson. So, over to you.
I think that I'm going to start with the date of this. I think it's 1910, something like that. So relatively early of that. It's late for the Cotswold School, if you like, but relatively early for the Barnsley Jimson type piece of furniture. But what I'm going to do is quote Ernest Jimson's great nephew, Donald Jimson.
Right.
Because he's often called in to be asked about, is this by Jimson or Barnsley? And his reaction is, most of the time, I don't know. He can't tell. The books don't really tell you. And I don't think we know. They didn't sign their furniture. There are no labels on it at all. Let's have a look at the inside first, just to see. You say you had it in your bedroom?
Oh, it looks like it.
We're using it for homework?
Mugs, I should think. Cups.
And what a shame the hinges have been replaced.
Yes, that's one of the things we want to get sorted.
Yeah, interesting. It'd be quite a problem to sort out, but it's worth doing. So let's get back to the question: who designed it? It's very strong, isn't it? And when you actually stand back from it and look at it, and that wonderful wishbone structure underneath,
yes.
It's very, very good indeed. So clearly, it's by one of this arts and crafts school, and your friend was on the right track. I think this type of furniture is really underrated. It's English furniture at its best. I mean, Jimson himself knew William Morris. And it was Morris who told him to go with Barnsley to London, to an art school of architecture, where there were people like Norman Shaw, some of the great architects of the late Victorian era. And they've carried that through into the last century now, into the 20th century, that tradition of crafts making. And there are no nails, virtually. It's all handmade, as you expect in the early days, 16th, 17th century. The idea of all these dowels or pins here is typical of the arts and crafts movement, back to basics, and all the better for it. I think it's lovely. Made, of course, of solid oak. You don't find much around. What would you pay for it today?
Well, if they were Barnsley, I would think it might be worth around 5,000, but I don't know. That's a guess.
And if it were Jimson?
I would have thought something similar, but I'm
about the same.
Yes.
I think that I think it would make that at auction in this present state. So I think if you're insuring this, probably even 7,000 or 8,000. and it's going up. Any idea what period this is?
Well, I've always been led to believe it's Georgian, but I don't know. I don't know for certain. Okay.
George III.
George III, right, splendid.
It's about 1770.
Yeah, right.
Now, this form of table, before we go into the exact date, was virtually invented, or certainly promoted, by a Scotsman.
Right.
A Scots architect called Robert Adam.
Right, oh, right. What wood is it?
Mahogany.
Mahogany.
But it's not the best mahogany, and it's got a lot of wear and tear. It looks like a family piece. How long have you had it?
I've had it forever, as long as I've been around, and as far as I know, it's been in the house in which I live, in which my family has lived for 200 odd years.
Right.
So that's all I know about it. It seems to me it's surprisingly high. Is that about the height?
It's typical of the period. It's
right.
a carving table, basically.
Right.
And you can see this wear and tear it's had here. I mean, this is 250 years of wear and tear.
Yeah.
This is more recent. It's a vase of flowers or something like that somebody's put on there.
Yeah.
Typical. Don't do it, please.
No, right.
Have you ever noticed one little added extra it's got on it?
What?
I was just crawling around underneath, and under here are 3 finger marks. Do you see these? The little gouges here.
Yeah.
Right. If I put my fingers in there like that and pull...
Oh, no. I never knew that existed.
Isn't that nice?
Well, it's a total surprise. I didn't know it existed.
It looks like it hasn't been open for a while. It's a bit dusty there, look. Yeah. It's hardly ever been used, this. See, it's very clever.
Yeah, yeah. Good heavens.
But also, what I like about this, I mean, it's got a lot of sophistication about it, yet at the same time, I love this fluting here, this sort of copied from ancient Greece, this fluting. But then this, what's called an oval patra, this flower head here. But I can't see it on this one, but the one here, that's actually nailed on.
Good heavens.
Look, little
Oh,
nails.
yes, I see, yeah.
So whoever made this probably didn't make these. Somebody else made them. He bought them in and just stuck them on. Yeah. Interesting for what is a sophisticated piece of furniture.
That's not cheating? No. Well.
No, it's perfectly genuine piece. So we need to value it. I mean, it's Georgian furniture, I think most people know, has gone up in value recently. Have you had it valued in the last few years or anything? Has there been any valuation on it? It
was valued for probate when my aunt died, which is 3 years ago. And I think it was, they valued it at £12,000, which seemed to me an extraordinarily high figure, but I don't really know what I'm looking at, so that's what it was.
It does seem an awful lot of money, doesn't it, for what is essentially just a side table and a bit scratched.
Right.
Well, I think that today, for your insurance policy, you should insure it for £30,000.
Thank you very much. That's totally amazing.
I can remember this table when I was just a wee small lad, probably about 4 or 5 year old, at my grandparents' house where they used to live in Watford in Hertfordshire. I know what it's made of, but apart from that, I don't really know what period it is or what its value is. So,
you say you know what it's made of. I'm going to test you now. What's the wood then?
I suspect that's. I don't think it's bur oak because I see no medullary rays in it, but I suspect it's bur elm.
Well, I didn't say that to trick you. It's not a bad guess, and I like the way you've gone through the process of oak with medullary rays, etc. And you're quite right, it's not oak, and you can't see medullary rays. It's actually not an English or indigenous wood at all, or a British wood.
Thuya wood? Thuya?
Well done. Now, you should have said that first time. It is Thuya wood. Do you know where it's from, the Thuya wood?
West Indies, isn't it?
No, it's from the Atlas Mountains in Morocco.
Right.
And it came into this country, or into the British Isles, into use really through France. And of course, because northern Morocco, North Africa was a French colony, and they found the wood and you first used it in about the 1840s and 50s in regular quantity.
Right. It has the whole thing has a very French look and feel to it. French stroke Italian to my eye. Certainly not of English. You mean that's not an English piece, design style-wise, I wouldn't have said.
Right. I'm going to push you now because it's interesting. You've got your own thought process going. So why isn't it English then? What?
Quite probably it's English construction because the quality of construction is extremely high throughout. I mean, the dovetailing on the drawers and the drawer slip in here. It's all tells me it's very, very English. But in terms of construction, but the style of it, it's just not English furniture.
I don't think I need to be doing this, do you? You're doing very well on your own. You're quite right. I mean, that's exactly English drawer construction. Wonderful mahogany, lovely sort of cotton beaded moulding there. Typical of what you expect of an English drawer. But of course, in this, it's not Italian style. I call it more a French style. Right. And when you look at the base, those sort of columnar supports, it's typical of what they'd call the Louis XVI style. And that style became very, very popular from about the 1850s onwards. And of course, there were lots of political troubles in France, and a lot of French craftsmen came over to England to work. And French designers were very, very sought after in England and paid more than their English counterparts to bring in this very sophisticated French design. And the ormolu here is typical. And the ormolu is an English word for bronze d'or moulu. Yeah. So it's just simply gilt bronze, or actually it's brass, amazingly, but we always call it bronze. It just sounds better. But the colour of that is more typical of the English colour of metalwork. It's a good piece of furniture. I think that if you had it in a showroom done up in a London or showroom where they like this type of high quality, high Victorian furniture, I can see it being £6,500 to £7,000 retail price.